Welcome back, everyone. My name's Hannah. For those of you that this is your first video watching us, my channel is Journey to Well. You can find me on all social media platforms at Journey to Well as well. Today, I am joined with my good friend, Anna Salas. Her Instagram is theguidetolight, and we're going to talk a little bit about why her handle is that. She is a spiritual guide and astrologer for inner growth. Thank you so much for coming, first of all. I'm so excited to have this conversation, probably the most excited because we're both manifesting generators, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. What manifesting generator means in human design as an energy type and how it kind of interweaves throughout our businesses, our lives, interactions maybe with family members, friends, coworkers. So it's going to be a really juicy conversation. So first, I would love for you to do a little introduction to yourself. We were chatting earlier about what the guide to light means to you and just anything that you want to say to introduce yourself.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much, Hannah. I'm super excited to be here and to be talking about all this. I feel like when human design came into my life, it was like eye opener. Like so many things fell into place. And I guess to start off, so the reason why I call myself the Guide to Light on Instagram, that became my handle. It kind of came to me during a time of frankly my spiritual awakening in 2020 when I was going through a breakup and all these things were moving in my life like a tower moment, falling out of the tower, and it came to me. It's when I started getting to holistic healing and I started to finally look at my wounds, not even knowing what that meant, but I finally started to look at my wounds and seeing why I was behaving in certain ways and seeing where things came from. It's like I was finally looking at my dark side, the shadows, the things that we tend to not look at. So the reason why I call myself the guide to light, it's because it's that looking at our shadows will then guide us to into our light, to live a life of light. And it's I think I my first tag phrase that I used when I started all of this was guiding you to go deep in order to live light. So it's like I feel like up to that point I had just been kind of like floating on the surface, not seeing anything that was underneath. But all of these things that happened took me to look at all those like all that depth, all that shadow, all that Scorpio vibes, which I'm a Scorpio rising, and yeah, and I was like, wow, so this is what it feels to be alive. It's like we have to look at this in order to feel light and let all of those things go. So that's the guide to light.
Love it. Thank you for sharing. That's a beautiful journey. Um, so Anna and I met, we actually walked through a program together that was led by someone else that I've had on this YouTube channel. If you're interested in learning a little bit about aligning to cycle, that was through our cycle series. So it actually will be right here. You can watch that. That's Emma. But we met walking through this program together. And one of the weeks in the Align experience is talking about human design, which I think, if I remember correctly, that might have been one of my first deep dives into human design. I think I knew what it was at that point, and I had kind of dipped my toe in, but I hadn't really dove straight into human design. And it, like you said, once I learned about it, it opened up so many moments of like just clicking, like all of these things that just kind of finally like fell into place where I hadn't I had felt kind of that resistance or that shame. We talked about this in another the introduction human design video, which I'll link right here. But learning about human design really allows us to kind of live, I think, in a little bit more integrity, a little bit more alignment. So I would love to hear a little bit about your journey learning about human design. Let's start there. Your journey about learning about human design. Like, what did you experience when you first started learning about these energy types and everything that human design is?
Yeah, so for me, it was also during the program that we did together, the Align experience. And I think what I caught my eye first was obviously the manifesting generator part. I'm like, oh, no wonder I'm like interested in so many different things. And what I found the most interesting is that I was able to relate this to basically, since I had my spiritual awakening in 2020, that's when I saw this part of myself more come out, because it's when I became more in tune with who I truly am and not doing things based on how society tells us to do it. So up
Mhm.
until 2020, I had just like stuck to one thing and thought I was going to be one type of person and all of this. And then when everything like crumbled and fell apart, I started to see how I'm interested in so many different things, and that's okay. And seeing how I'm not supposed to be working like from 9 to 6 every single day, like consistently. It's like I'm supposed to be working with like bursts of energy, like manifesting generators. Like we get this like inspiration and we can do what another person does in like a week and like a day if we just like listen to that, and then allowing ourselves to rest the next day. Of that, that's what our body's calling us to do. So for me, it was like, whoa, it was like such validation
Mhm.
that we shouldn't need, but we often do need because of the society we live in.
Mhm.
And such like, oh, like I'm gonna now listen to myself, because frankly, this is how I am, this is how I was born, and this is what I should be following. And that was the main thing, like listening to your own guidance system versus like what other people are telling you to do. And it was also so beautiful to see how human design also wove into astrology, and just
Mhm.
all the modalities like come together and just give you a map of like the beautiful person that you are.
Yeah. I always say to people that don't know human design, I'm always like, it's kind of like astrology because to me, they're so interconnected in so many ways, different platforms and definitely different things to talk about in each. But like you, one of the biggest aha moments or exhale moments that I had when learning about that I'm a manifesting generator. So, those of you, back up real quick, those of you that don't know manifesting generators, hopefully you know a little bit because you clicked on this video, but manifesting generators are a combination of two energy types. They're the combination of the manifester and the generator energy types, and together we make manifesting generator. So we have um, attributes of both energy types. Manifesting generators are able to do that manifesting part, so kind of call things out of thin air, pull things out of thin air, and then actually do it. So the manifestors are kind of like the creators of ideas and programs, and they're the only energy type that can initiate or should initiate. Generators are the doers. They're the ones that kind of get the program launched or get the work done. And we have this kind of unique ability to do both. And one of the most probably blanket statements about manifesting generators in general is that we like to do like 50 different things at once. And that was my moment. My biggest aha moment was when I was in college, undergrad and grad school. I always worked at one point for about 2 years. I was working like 4 different jobs. Um, Two when I would go home on summer breaks and Christmas breaks, and then two, I worked at a restaurant and I worked at a church, going to school full time.
Wow.
And I actually loved it. I thrived. And then I graduate with my master's degree. I get my first full time job that's supposed to be like the arrival moment, right? Like, this is what we went to school for 6 years for, college for 6 years for. I got a master's degree. Like, I got a job at a hospital, dream job, and I just wasn't happy. And I was like, I don't feel like I have a life. I don't feel in human design types, I don't feel lit up. It's
Yeah.
not like lighting me up. And there was so much at that time, like so much shame and guilt around that, because I was like, I should be happy, right? All of the shoulds from society. This is the goal, is to finally get a full-time job, stay in the hospital for your entire career, and then retire, because hospital jobs are great and it's really great money, really great benefits, really great hours. And I just wasn't happy. And I was like, I don't think that I can do this forever. And then now, like, fast forward learning about human design, I'm like, oh, all of that makes sense. Like, that's just not my design type. I like to balance a lot on my plate, even in my business now. I like to do the one-on-one coaching. I like the group coaching programs. I like, diving into new aspects of my business, and learning about that and how I can incorporate that. So Such an interesting kind of journey that human design has kind of illuminated for me, I think, learning that, like you said, it's like that affirmation that we're all different. Especially, I mean, we have 5 energy types, but even within those energy types, we have different authorities and different whatever that's called. Like you're a 6-2 and I'm a 1-3. So like there's different nuances to
Yeah.
your profile. So I would love to know how learning about human design, now that you've learned about it, how do you incorporate that, or how do you feel more aligned within your business of astrology and one-on-one coaching a little bit? And then you also do other things. You don't just have your one avenue. So how does that all come together for you?
I just think, with human design, it's like it makes me laugh because I'm like, oh, it makes everything make sense. Like,
Mhm.
so I'm a holistic health coach. So I graduated. I'm going to say a little bit of the background because as you were speaking, I was like, wow, that's exactly what I went through. Like, I studied finance, like very traditional finance, business. Before that, I wanted to do law. Like, I've always like switched around with what I want to do. And I graduated and I started my first job as a consultant. Like, and I started, and I remember in the first week, I was like, so this is the rest of my life? Like, I was having like an existential crisis the first week. I remember I used to do like little journal diary recordings to myself,
Uh-huh.
to vent to myself. And I was like, there's no way. There's no way. Like, this is what people do? Is this life?
Wow.
Literally lasted in that job for like 6 months until I was like, I can't. I had also already gone through my like awakening, and I was like,
Hmm.
frustration, which is my sign of not self, of not being aligned. I was just frustrated. Like, I'm like, I have more and there should be more. And
Mhm.
at the same time, I was getting my health coaching certification. That was
Okay.
kind of like my avenue to into this world of wellness and healing and everything. And although I got my health coaching certification, because of all like the spiritual growth I was undergoing, at the same time I was just like diving deeper into healing. And even from the beginning, my Instagram handle, before I even knew it was going to become a business, I called it the Guide to Light, which is all about healing, about spirituality, about wounds. And I saw how everything was connected. And even if we're talking about holistic health and what to eat, like our emotions have such a big part to do with it. So that's how I see the manifesting generator play in. And then my whole life I've loved astrology. Like, loved. Like, I remember I was doing internships in finance and I just couldn't wait to get home to dive into astrology. Like, I remember perfectly. I would spend the whole weekend like exhausted, like nervous system dysregulated from my like finance like internships. But then
Mhm.
I was like diving, like staying in bed, like, oh my God, like the sun, the moon, the houses. And then finally now, like this past year, I've been doing it as like I incorporate into my business, and I'm doing birth chart reading. So it's like I've allowed myself to pivot because I see that it's part of my who I'm supposed to be, that manifesting generator. We're not supposed to be, the master of anything, but we're supposed to show people how to pivot and do a little bit of everything and follow where our energy wants to go. And right now that's birth chart readings
Mhm.
and ceremonies. I'm hosting in-person ceremonies as well. And I love that. And I see different parts of myself come out. But I do see the overall theme of, helping people in their healing journey, like
Mhm.
holding space for people to remember who they are, whether it's through a birth chart reading, whether it's through a ceremony, a conversation, like anything. And that's how I see the different interplay. And then if we get into
Yeah.
this too, that's a whole other like mind explosion for me too.
Yeah. And that's the thing about manifesting generators is they dive really deep into one topic. I call them obsessions because that's how it feels. Like I get obsessed about one human design, right? And I will spend however long just listening to podcasts, reading books, interviewing people, getting my human design chart read, blah, 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 blah. And then I learn everything that I need to learn about that as a manifesting generator. And then we move on to the next topic. And there's so many different questions I want to ask here. Um, the most important thing to remember being a manifesting generator is, what I love, the word that you used was pivot. We are allowed, and you said that I allowed myself to pivot. We are allowed to pivot and pivot and pivot and pivot and come back if we want, right? Like I did a deep dive on astrology, human design like a year ago, and now I'm coming back to it and doing another deep dive and learning even more about human design and allowing ourselves that space and that flexibility, I think is huge because there is a lot of external kind of pressure that you have to pick one thing and do the one thing. And for me, I have just never fit into that box and I can't. And I'm finally in this place where I'm like, no, my business is not super niche. Like I am not a nutritionist. We talk about nutrition and I know a lot about nutrition, but we also talk about astrology. We also talk about human design. We talk about mindset. We talk about movement. We talk about all of these different topics because I have that in my toolbox because I've already done deep dives in so many of these areas. And then my goal in my business is to then help you find where you want to navigate from. Like maybe you want to learn about all of these topics and then pick one, and that's great. Like let's do that. But I am the introduction is how I vocalize. But one of my questions would be, how do you navigate through pivoting? Because there's a lot of external pressure that happens, whether it's from your family, your parents, your friends, your job. Like how have you walked through that journey of pivoting?
Yeah, I think I'm still navigating it, you know?
Yeah.
I'm still in the middle of it. I feel like like I said, I went through this whole awakening in 2020, so it's been 3 years of me learning. And I
Yeah.
think being easy on yourself is like
Mhm.
the number one thing,
Yeah.
because like we were talking about, like there's so much external pressure, external expectations, not just external, but then expectations we've internalized and
Mhm.
that we have to look at, that we're living our life by, that we may not even realize
Mhm.
that no longer align with who we've become. So it's
Wow.
kind of like taking stock of like where we're at. What do we believe to be true about this? Like, what do you believe to be true about pivoting?
Yeah.
And like writing about that, and it's one day at a time. It's being easy on yourself through the process, because pivoting also means shedding and like continually changing who you are, and in a way that is detachment to ego. Like it
Yeah.
is like, because the ego wants you to be like, this is who I am. But if you're constantly changing who you, in the end, you're not really changing who you are, because who you are, and these are tools.
Yeah.
But society wants us to think that we are what we do. So
Yeah.
it's it's a whole growth journey, right? That like
Yeah.
I'm still undergoing and going through, but it's always trusting in yourself.
Mhm.
And I always say, like, trusting in that higher power that's like greater than you and
Yeah.
guiding you. And because we can fall into fear when we're pivoting so much, because we're so used to seeing like one path. And this is like a little interjection, but I
Yeah.
also thought about this when you were speaking. I remember the day I graduated college, I was in a dinner with all my friends and their parents and their families. And one of the moms comes up to all of us, and it's like, "So what are you gonna be? So what are you gonna be?" My friends are like, a lot of my friends are doctors. So a doctor, lawyer, blah blah blah. And I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. She's like, what do you mean you don't know? You're graduating. I'm like, I was starting a job in consulting finance, but I didn't even think about saying that, because I was like,
Wow.
I truly don't know, because how am I gonna know what I'm gonna be? Oh my God, like that's so daunting. And how fun. It's also about reframing it. Like, how fun is it to explore and everything?
Wow.
And if you do feel fear come up because of the pivoting, it's like attend to that fear. Don't hide from that part of yourself.
Mhm.
It's multi-layered, and it's
Yeah.
all a journey of learning to come back home. There's
Yeah.
no one answer, but it's a coming back and a coming back and a coming back and a coming back with love.
Yeah. And pivoting is going to look different to everyone, right? Like some it doesn't mean if you're a manifesting generator watching this and you're like, I don't want to change my job. Like pivoting looks different to everyone, and it might be pivoting more in your mindset approaches, or it might be pivoting more in different aspects of life. But I love everything that you said, especially the shedding and putting ourselves in that box. That's what you and I were like talking about. We were laughing about because I was like, how do you want me to introduce you? And then we always need to be introduced by our profession. What do you do? That's one of the first questions in a networking group or when you meet someone new, right? They're like, what do you do? That's how we define who we are. But it doesn't always have to look that way, and it can change and it can evolve and it can grow. One of the most important things about manifesting generators to remember is that when we pivot, what we are pivoting from is not a loss. It's not something that didn't well, I'll say it this way. It's we use all of our information that we have learned, that we all the experience that we've gained and weave that into whatever new experience we're walking into. So that was one of the things when I learned that, that was one of the things that kind of allowed me to exhale a little bit was knowing that like if you pivot, it's okay because this all part of this journey in the previous history of your life that all led you to exactly where you are today, here and now, and you needed all of that to go where you're going.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
It's like we all have, if society is made of, these five buckets, these five, why are you trying to be in the bucket of that you're not meant to be? Like you were born as a manifesting generator. We need your energy here. Like
mhm,
there's a reason why you're a manifesting generator. Like,
mhm.
and the more you come into that and play with around that with that energy, the more you're able to shine in the way that you're supposed to, right? So it's like have faith in yourself and like be easy with it, have fun with it. Easier
Yeah.
said than done, but like but let's just maintain that there as the goal.
Yeah, and do what lights you up, and that's how being a manifesting generator, same with generators, um, following what lights you up. So that will be my last question. Just a little history if you don't know about manifesting generators of this aspect. What lights you up is what we should be following. We've said that you and I both have said that a little bit throughout this video. So if there's any confusion, what we mean is what kind of innately gives you energy. So you use the example of like work like drained all of my energy doing the corporate financing. But when I would come home and learn about astrology, I could sit on the computer for hours late at night and not be tired. And I have found that in myself that another word that I use is like when I'm in flow, when I'm doing something that I love, when I'm seeing clients, it doesn't matter if I'm like exhausted. As soon as I hop on that Zoom call, I light up. And then after I can feel my energy is different. Like it's I don't know, I can feel it. So that would be my question to you is how do you personally decipher what lights me up, what doesn't light me up? Are there certain body sensations that come up in you? Are there certain mindsets? Are there certain words that come to mind? How do you decipher what lights you up versus what doesn't light you up?
Yeah, I love that question. And I love this topic because I remember when I was learning about human design, that's one of the main things that I was like, wow, like it's this idea of the universe is going to give you more energy when you're doing something that you're supposed to be doing. So
Wow.
do more of that thing?
Mhm.
So I think for me, it's like, it's that excitement. It's that excitement and it's like getting more energy. And even if sometimes, because I think a lot of the times also when we do things, we also experience fear. So even if you're not getting filled with energy, maybe because of the fear, the heaviness, there's still like an internal sense of like, I did that. I did
Yeah.
like of this like satisfaction, even if you're exhausted, even if you, because we're always going, if you're following the path that you're supposed to, like you're going to be pushing against your fears and your limiting beliefs because like it's where your power lies on the other side of all those things. So even if you feel exhausted, which has happened to me, like after I do ceremonies, I feel tired and I feel, but at the same time, I'm like, I wouldn't have it any other way. It's like I wouldn't not do it. I'm
Mm.
proud of myself that I did it and I love doing it because even though me, like the 25-year-old Anna is like tired, like my higher self is like, you did that. And I know that's the person that every single time I do it comes through me and that I'm embodying more and more. So it's like you might be filled with energy, but even if you're not, it's that sense of internal satisfaction, which I guess is my also myself, right? Yeah.
I love that you brought that up, pairing the 2, because it doesn't always mean that we're, like, filled with, like, that Energizer Bunny energy. I
Mhm.
love that you made that connection, feeling satisfied, kind of leaning into that feeling of satisfaction. On the other side of that, maybe paying attention to if your energy feels drained, but also you feel frustrated. That is the not self for manifesting generators. The human design expert that I had on, she said we also carry a little bit of that manifester energy, which the not self of a manifester is anger. So maybe feeling frustrated or angry as a manifesting generator, at the end of the day, you finish something or you're walking through something and you feel yourself feeling very frustrated or feeling very angry, that would be a really great notification to yourself that maybe I'm not living in an alignment. How can I explore the option of pivoting or
Yeah.
holding a slightly different mindset around this? Or how can I explore what would it mean to get more in alignment with?
Yeah, and I love that because it's not just like, all right, you don't feel in alignment, like you got to uproot your life and like switch to a completely different career offering or whatever. It's like maybe it's the way like you're showing up or what you're charging or the structure in the like maybe you want more people there or less people there or you want
Mhm.
to do group instead of one-on-one or you want to do one-on-one but you want to do shorter or more frequently. Like, it's so many different things and it's just like instead of like maybe experiencing fear around, oh my God, this means I'm not in alignment or whatever. It's like,
Mm,
I think this is something so important that helped me on my journey. It's like, I am always in alignment
wow.
because if you're experiencing like that lack of alignment, you're meant to be experiencing that to
Wow.
keep you going on your path to the next step. So I think we have a lot of fear on I just want to be in alignment and I just want to be in alignment and I just want to be I am always in alignment because even if you're experiencing that not self, that's part of your journey to get to yourself. So you
Mhm.
are
Ah, thank
to
you. That was beautiful. I
I
love that. I haven't thought of it that way.
yeah.
Thanks. So to wrap up, is there anything else that you feel like any nuggets like that that you're like, I really wanted to share this aspect of manifesting generator or human design? Kind of an open-ended question, but if there's anything you feel called.
Yeah, I think to hit on that 6-2,
Hmm.
which is what is that called again?
I know. I'm
Do
like,
you
what
remember?
is that called? I'll look it
I
up as we're talking.
we're blanking on it, maybe,
Yeah.
but it's like these numbers that describe that along with your if you're a manifesting generator, it deepens like the knowledge of who you are. And for me, learning about my numbers, what is it called?
Your profile.
My profile. Yes, that's what it is. So that 6-2, I feel like deepened that
Hmm.
manifesting generator energy for me because it's like, oh, I think it's the role model hermit. So that part of me that wants to be like a role model, like it's like, oh, no wonder, okay, that's how I'm supposed to be. And then the hermit part is the part that I need to be alone to like recharge. And that was huge for me because I need to recharge. Like I love like just having my time alone and it's when I get into my most creative mode. So
Hmm.
for me, learning that part of human design was huge and seeing
Yeah.
how it like interacted with astrology. So I feel like I guess yeah, one final thing is to just keep on diving deeper, keep on learning more and seeing how that relates to who you are because these tools aren't the ones that have the power. It's just reminding us. It's like having deja vu and being like, oh, I feel like I've seen this, oh, I've heard of this world, this is who I am. So it's like, and that's what life is. Every single encounter we have with other people, our relationships, our experiences, our not selves, everything is just a reminder to
Yeah.
get us to come back in and remember who we are. And you're
Wow.
so powerful. Everyone's so
Yeah.
powerful.
Yeah, and I think that that energy piece is really important to reiterate. Talking, especially manifesting generators and generators, we are stereotypically like the highest energy. Like we just carry the highest amount of energy, like the kind of the doer part of us. But remembering that that doesn't mean that we're supposed to be doing all the time and that we need time to rest. Like that was something that and the amount of rest is probably going to depend on the rest of your human design chart because I'm a 1-3, my profile is a 1-3. The one in me needs a lot of time to rest and a lot of time to be alone and recharge. And so even if you're a manifesting generator or a generator, remember that we're still as humans that we need rest. Like just talking about cycles in general and aligning to cycles of the moon phases and our menstrual cycle, like we need time to rest and that's okay. And there's still like resting is not being unproductive. Resting doesn't mean that you're not in alignment with your man gen self. There's alignment in that and that's like super imperative. So thank you for bringing that up too.
Yeah, 1000%.
Yeah. So where can people find you? I know that you do birth chart readings, you do a little bit of spiritual coaching. Where can people find you if they want to learn more about those options, as well as just follow along your journey on social media? Because I know that you post beautiful, beautiful things.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can find me on Instagram at theguidetolight. And in my bio, there's a link for the birth chart readings. I'm always posting there about like astrology, but also just like insights on like spirituality, self-healing, growth, about my own and just the energy that I'm feeling in the world. And it's really just like my mode of self-expression. Um, yeah. And if you're in Miami, I do ceremonies once a month and also Reiki. So you can all find that on my Instagram. It's my main TikTok as well. I'm starting to like get more on it, but definitely Instagram is my main mode.
Yeah, Instagram is my main hustle. I do a little bit of TikTok. I do like a little bit of all the things, but mostly Instagram. But anyway,
Yeah.
thank you so much. This was such a fun conversation. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Hannah. This is amazing.